During the winter months. We're going to have more on how to keep your humidifier clear and clean up next.
Very foggy out there this morning. Wet, gray, drizzly, kind of yucky, but hey, 36 degrees, 9:48 this Saturday morning. Thanks for being with us. In the last couple of weeks, we've all been setting our thermostats a little bit higher and hearing the furnace kick in. If you will, we are back in our cocoons.
That's right. Now, even though we all want to stay warm, we need a little moisture in that heated air, and that means tending to the humidifier on your furnace. And for tips on how to do that, we turn to our handyman, Dale Cranston.
Okay, what we're going to do here is we've come down. Another thing before we get to working on other projects, we're going to service the furnace here a little bit. So I've got my replacement humidifier evaporator pad here, because I just replace them. There's instructions of how to clean them, but here it says replace yearly. I replace them every time I see them. And then this is a type of pleated filter that can be used. We have a different filter in here, but that's a part that can be used. And now we're going to get at it. So usually these humidifiers, they may be in tight spaces or something like that. They're hard to get to. That's why people don't service them. And what a humidifier does, it'll add to the humidity content in your house, because winter is very dry around here. So what we'll do is, we know that this is all crusty in here and hard from the minerals in the water from running all last season, so I'm going to go in here and just try and pull this out of here. Okay, so here we are, sure enough, and it's drippy and wet, but see, it's all crusty and hard from the, and it's supposed to be soft, like our new one. It's all crusty and hard, and the minerals are on here too. So we're just going to kind of clean these minerals off a little bit, and I'm going to pull this pad off. Let me see if I can pull this off. It's really rendered pretty useless when it's all crusty like this. We'll just get this old one off. Okay. There's new different types of humidifiers nowadays too that are it's an all-time running type of a humidifier. It's a continuous run. Now it has to have a floor drain in order for it to operate, but it doesn't. It eliminates this pad that gets all crusty and messed up. See, this is the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like a big sponge. Is what it does. It works like it just fills up with water. It turns around and fills up with water, and the hot air circles past it and picks up moisture through it. So we're going to go ahead and put this back in place. I'm going to check my water level in there. Plenty of water, and sometimes every other year, every few years, we'll take this bottom portion off and we'll scrape all the sludge off from in there. Use half part vinegar and half water, and it'll break off some of those minerals. Okay, so what we'll do before we put the top on is we'll double check, and we'll make sure. We'll go upstairs, we'll turn on the thermostat, make sure that the furnace is running, so that I can make sure that it's turning. That's why we have this little window here. Make sure it's turning. And for now, what we'll do is we'll go over here, and we will we're going to turn on make sure the water supply is turned on. Now these little valves here, sometimes they, when they're out like this, they're on. Sometimes when they're in, they're on. So you're just going to have to, check it, turn it on, and then check it. Okay, now this is going to be our humidistat. Now on the humidistat, what we're going to do is we keep it pretty high, because what happens is people don't usually come down and mess with their humidistat. So I usually keep it up here between 40 and 50. I keep it up pretty high. Okay, we kicked on our furnace. We got the humidifier is basically hooked to the fan switch. So you hear the burners coming on. You got to wait till the fan comes on. Then we can see that it's turning in there, and it's getting wet with water. Our reservoir's full of water. We got a good flow on the water, so we're back up in action. And
that's a pretty important feature, because you can really dry out your sinuses and everything if you don't have that. You say you don't even know if you have one.
I'm trying to figure out if I even have one of those. I have to go down and look.
If you don't, it shows us how to get rid of the old noisy one with an improved quiet one.
Okay, this Saturday, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a new bathroom fan. And this you can see up here, we've got one of these old style, small little noisy fans that's basically ineffective. We're going to put in a new low-zone, Brown 100.
How to get rid of the old noisy one with an improved quiet one.
Okay, this Saturday, what we're going to do is we're going to put in a new bathroom fan. And this you can see up here, we've got one of these old style, small little noisy fans that's basically ineffective. We're gonna put in a new low zone, Brown 100 CFM bathroom fan that's really gonna draw, and we're gonna ventilate it properly. Okay, this is what we're gonna be using here today. We've got our low zone or quiet Brown fan here, and this is the size of exhaust that we got on here. It's a full 3 1/4 by 10 exhaust. So we're gonna transition that down into a round, a flexible 7-inch round piece of duct that we're gonna take and exhaust it outside. The other fan that we had was just blowing right into the attic, and that's typical, and that's not good. So we're gonna take this through to a roof vent or a soffit vent or a ridge vent, and these are some other tools we might use, a pair of electrical pliers that we're gonna be cutting the wire with, and the pry bar, hole saw, maybe a screwdriver, and the hammer that we're gonna use to get out the old fan. So what I'll do first here is I am gonna take the cover off the old fan and look and see what kind of design that I've got. And I'll find the electrical supply for the fan motor, pull that cord out, find out my fan motor is screwed up in there, so I'm able to just take the fan motor and the whole fan out of there and see how it's connected. Then I'll determine the electrical supply, taking off the cover here, and get that cover off and I can see, and I'll disconnect the power supply from my fan box. Then after that, I'll determine exactly where the fan is connected to the rafter or whatever, and I'm just gonna pound this old fan out. I'm gonna pound it up into the attic. So it's scrap and debris will just fly up into the attic, and I'll be able to pry bar off any of the fasteners that's holding it onto the rafter. Okay, once I get that, then I'll grab my new fan. I kind of trace on I just put the fan right up there onto the ceiling. I don't use a template, all this other stuff. I'll just trace it right on there. Then I'll come back, get my nice hole saw for cutting the plaster. And this plaster is kind of chippy a little bit, but my escutcheon plate for the fan cover will cover that. And I'll cut my hole. I'll start along this rafter here so that when the fan is finally mounted, it'll go up against the rafter. And I'll cut out this plaster here, get it all the way around. And then what I'll have to do on this particular fan, I'll take it up. I'll have to take it up through the attic to drop it down from the top. I can't actually put the fan up through the hole because of the mounting brackets and stuff. I'll go up there and I'll drop the fan down from the top. And you can see when I'm going to drop that down from the top, with the ceiling rafter again, I can screw my fan right into the side of the ceiling rafter so I get a nice firm mount for that fan that cuts down on the vibration and the noise. Then I'm going to put a new hole right through the metal housing here. You can see the nice insulation that they have on this, so it keeps it quieter running into the big fan motor. It's a good sized fan. Okay, we'll just screw in our last couple of screws here for the cover, and we'll just turn it on, and there you have it. Nice, quiet, efficient running fan.
Nothing like the sound of a quiet fan. Well,
Around the house for many of us. Each Saturday we like to bring you some hints on household projects you may have in mind. Well, this week Dale Cranston shows us some of the steps to replacing your toilet.
Okay, what we're going to do today is we're going to put in a new elongated toilet. And we've got a new tile on the floor we laid over the old, and we're going to put it onto our existing flange there. In here I've got my different parts that I'm going to need. I've got my Kohler Wellworth elongated toilet with the tank. I've also got, since I retiled the floor, I put in, I'm going to be putting an additional flange on here. My wax ring by which all life passes there, the bolt down kit, the supply tube, and here's maybe some of the other tools that I might be using. I've got my caulking to do the final set, a couple wrenches, and plumber's putty maybe, and let's get started. Okay, next we're going to put in our Easy Snap toilet bolt kit, and I like these because once you get them poked through the toilet, you can basically break these off, and they've got this little nylon holder, so when you put them in your little flange here, you get it in there, and then you see that kind of keeps it from pushing down in or something when you go to set the toilet on. Now we're going to put on our wax ring here. And what I do is I just put it right on the bottom there and kind of squish it on. Rather than put it on there on the flange, we put it right on the bottom of the toilet. So when this thing squishes out, and this is what keeps it from seeping out when you go to flush your toilet. So what we do is we put on that wax ring, and then we're ready to set the base down. We make sure it's on there good and tight. And then we're ready to set our toilet right on these bolts here. see if we can get this one here first time go. You can kind of check to make sure your bolts are guiding through there. There you go. And then I kind of smash it on there. Okay, here I am. I'm going to put on the plaster attachment for this cover here and the bolt to bolt down the toilet here and get this thing bolted in. Okay, now here we're going to get ready to put the tank on. This shows the three bolts. 3-bolt design is what you want to get, is because a lot of times you have a 2-bolt and it makes the tank rock. So we're just going to set this right up on here. It's got the rubber gasket on it already. We're real careful. We're going to make sure we don't mess it up. Okay, now we're just going to attach it with our nuts and our washers. Nice brass and stainless steel washer there. And I'm going to bolt the back on. Okay, I'm going to attach my supply tube now. I use this, the gray flexible type. And what I'll do is I'll attach it to the bottom where it's supposed to go a little bit, and then I can check my length. So I'll get it here to its location, and I'll see how much I need. And I'll cut it a little bit long because it's flexible, so that so I'm going to cut it here. I see. Alrighty. Alrighty. Now when we go, I can tighten this up a little bit under here. This is the supply area. Tighten it up a bit. All right, now I'm going to put on the compression nut here and the little collar here to make the compression fitting. I'm going to tighten it right down on our supply. Once we get this tightened down, we should be ready to turn the water on. So we're going to tighten this up. Okay, now we're ready to turn on our water supply and check for leaks. So let's see what we get here. See if we can keep from getting sprayed on here. And it'll fill both here and down in here.
Check for leaks, good idea. More on the movie reviews when we come back.
Wiring the house with different holiday decorations. Well, some things you need to know. Are you a little leery about the electrical thing? Handyman Dale Cranston has some information on extension cords and the difference between cheap ones and not so cheap ones.
During the holiday season, we're plugging in Christmas lights and lights around the house, and we're using a lot of extension cords. And this is like Grandpa's old extension cord here that's real skinny. I think it's like probably 18 gauge or something. And these are now outlawed. The new ones are 16 gauge, 14 gauge, and they're a lot thicker. They can take a lot more abuse. And then this is the big daddy right here. This is like a surge suppressor type that's a good for extending a lot of outlets. Now this one here, the problem with it is it gets all heated up, and well, what happens is people leave it around after Christmas, and the wife plugs the iron into a light bulb or something, leaves the iron on. These cause fires, and that's why they've been outlawed. Okay, so you want to get rid of these. These ones are okay as long as you don't plug in electrical appliances into them, like heaters, like curling irons and toasters and things like that. And so you want to be careful with these too, because these can cause fires if you plug in the wrong thing to them. Notice they're not 3-prong plugs, okay? Now this one here, this is the new extension cord that's got 3-prong plugs on it. It's for heavy-duty use. You can plug in a lot of stuff. Sometimes you go up under the counters in your kitchen there, and you can plug them in or hardwire them in. And what they have is got an on and off switch here, okay? And they also have a circuit breaker on here. So if you overload this, it will trip right here and not cause a problem. So this would be good for that kind of a use. So you want to be having the right extension cord for the right use this year.
Makes sense.